Introduction. Let's get it.
Hello and welcome back. It's me, Dr. Butler, your favorite exercise scientist, and this is the space where we talk all things women's health, strength, and thriving through every season of life. Today, we're diving into a topic that so many women quietly talk about out loud, or maybe even be unaware of, and that is the skinny fat phenomenon. This is the woman who looks small in clothes, sits with a normal BMI range, maybe even gets told that she's lucky, but yet she's battling low muscle tone, stubborn belly fat, fatigue, inflammation, and labs that don't match the way she looks on the outside. This episode is about pulling back the curtain on normal weight obesity. What is it? Why it happens? Why midlife women are especially vulnerable? And most importantly, how to rebuild a body that's strong, metabolically healthy, and resilient. Because the truth is, health is not a size, and BMI never told the full story. I know some of you may be thinking, Dr. Butler, what are you talking about? But listen, skinny fat is a real thing. Clinically, it's referred to as normal weight obesity or metabolically obese normal weight. And that's just it. Skinny fat is the everyday term for someone who looks lean or normal weight on the outside, but carrying high amounts of body fat and little muscle underneath. The scale may say one thing, but the body composition tells a completely different story. Now, it has been reported that approximately 30 million Americans have high body fat despite having normal BMI, which means 30 million Americans are walking around thinking that they're healthy. But the truth is, they have elevated visceral fat, elevated insulin resistance, high triglycerides and cholesterol, a higher risk for metabolic syndrome, and type 2 diabetes. This is not a cosmetic issue, it is a health issue. And the real danger of skinny fat pattern is that it hides meaningful metabolic dysfunction. On the outside, everything looks normal, but underneath, the body is signaling distress. And because it's masked, women often go undiagnosed for years, delaying the care and interventions that could change their health trajectory. Adults with normal weight obesity have higher levels of high sensitive C reactive proteins, one of the clearest markers of the whole body inflammation. In fact, people with skinny fat pattern have more than 3 times the odds of living with chronic systematic inflammation compared to metabolically healthy lean individuals. Chronic inflammation leads to elevated cardiovascular disease risks such as hypertension, coronary artery disease, and type 2 diabetes, as well as cancer. The transition through the menopausal stages creates the perfect physiological storm for developing the skinny fat phenomenon. During midlife, it's incredibly common for women to see their overall body fat percentage rise while their lean muscle quality declines, even when the scale doesn't budge. The body is changing on the inside long before it shows up on the scale, which is why body composition matters much more than the number. Remember, perimenopause is where we begin to experience fat redistribution as a result of declining estrogen. So the fat that we have stored in our hips and our butt, it shifts to our midsection. This causes visceral fat cells to swell, become stressed, and start to break down, triggering fibrosis and releasing inflammatory cytokines that directly fuels system inflammation and raises the risk for type 2 diabetes. Next, we have a hard time maintaining muscle mass because our testosterone levels are declining. Lastly, as muscle mass decreases and visceral fat increases, our resting metabolism rate declines. This simply means that we burn fewer calories at rest and our metabolism is slowing down. A slower metabolism means slower protein turnover, slower recovery, more muscle breakdowns during stress, illness, and dieting, higher fasting glucose, higher insulin, more fat storage, more cravings, and more inflammation. Now, we're going to fill it by having lower energy, slower recovery, reduced stamina, and increased brain fog. Okay, so we have discussed what skinny fat is and why women in the menopausal stages are at a higher risk. But now we need to understand, how is it developed? Skinny fat doesn't happen overnight. It's a result of years of compounding physiological shifts, many which women don't even realize that is happening until the symptoms show up, like softness, stubborn belly fat, fatigue, inflammation, declining strength. Here's the deeper look at how the pattern forms. The first thing that I have noticed is chronic undereating and low protein intake. Many women spend decades dieting, restricting calories, or eating light to stay small. But in long term, it leads to reduced muscle protein synthesis, slower metabolism, increased muscle breakdown, and impaired recovery. When protein is consistently low, the body simply doesn't have the raw material to maintain lean mass. And muscle is the engine that keeps our metabolism high. A good rule of thumb is 1.5 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. So if a woman weighs 133 pounds, you need to convert that into grams, which is going to be 60.5 grams. Then you got to multiply that by 1.5, which is 90 grams. So a woman's going to need 90 grams of protein a day. This can be attained many ways. It's not that hard. Breakfast, have 3 eggs, 3 whole eggs, and 2 egg whites. That's your protein. At lunch, have 4 ounces of grilled chicken. For a snack, have a cup of Greek yogurt. For dinner, have 3 ounces of salmon. So maybe cooking's not your thing, or you don't like to eat meat. For breakfast, have a protein shake. For lunch, have some tuna and a yogurt. For a snack, have some cottage cheese. For dinner, have some lean ground turkey. Or you can simply reach out to me for a nutrition plan. Next, we have to participate in strength training. Cardio is often the default for women, especially those wanting to stay thin. But without progressive strength training, muscle mass declines, bone density drops, metabolic rates slow down, and insulin sensitivity worsens. Ladies, we should be doing strength training 2 to 4 times a week. We can do lower body strength exercises, upper body push exercises, upper body pull. There's core and anti-rotation. There's power and activation. And there's balance and stability. If you need help putting these together, reach out to me. If you need an accountability partner, I'm here. I offer in-person and virtual sessions. I can create a plan for you. Thirdly, skinny fat is developed as a result of hormonal shift. Declining estrogen changes everything. Fat redistribution to the abdomen, visceral fat increases, inflammation rises, bone and muscle becomes harder to maintain, insulin sensitivity drops. This hormonal environment accelerates the skinny fat pattern, especially when paired with low protein and low muscle mass. The last skinny fat development area I want to touch on is elevated cortisol. Chronic stress and disturbed sleep elevates cortisol, which increases abdominal fat storage, breaks down muscle tissue, raises blood sugars, increases cravings, and worsens inflammation. When cortisol levels stay high too long, it creates the perfect internal environment for muscle loss, fat gain, inflammation, and metabolic dysfunction, even when a woman looks small or have a normal weight on the outside. I have given you a lot of information about skinny fat, but how can we reverse it? I'm so glad you asked. First, let's prioritize strength training. Remember, we should be doing this 2 to 4 times a week. Next, we need to increase our protein intake. We want about 1.5 grams per kilogram of our body weight. Let's reduce the consumption of ultra-processed foods. Foods like chips, frozen pizza, hot dog, donuts, instant flavor, oatmeal, TV dinners, baking soda. Y'all see the chart? Let's limit that food. We can also improve insulin sensitivity with the things that I just mentioned, along with consistent bedtime, stress management, prioritizing neat activities, and breath work. Track body fat percentage, not just weight, with the DEXA scan or a bioimpedance for assessment, like the invite that I have at my gym. All right, ladies, that's where we'll wrap it up today. If you've been nodding your head, seeing yourself in this conversation, or realizing that skinny fat might be the silent pattern behind your fatigue, your stubborn midsection, or those labs that just don't make sense, I want you to hear me clearly. You're not broken. Your body is responding to physiological changes, not failure. And now you have the knowledge to respond back. Midlife is not a season where your health declines. It's a season where you finally understand your body well enough to rebuild it with intention. Strength training, protein, stress management, real metabolic support aren't punishments. They're tools. Tools that help you reclaim muscle, lower inflammation, improve insulin sensitivity, and step into a version of yourself that feels strong, capable, and fully in control. If you're ready for guidance, accountability, or a personalized plan, you know I'm here, in person, virtually, through my programs. You don't have to navigate this alone. Your health is worth the work, and your future self will thank you every step that you take today. I'm Dr. Butler, your favorite exercise scientist, reminding you that your body is adaptable, your strength is renewable, and this chapter is yours to rewrite. Don't forget to like, share, and comment on this video, and I will see you in the next episode.